What's up, everyone? This is episode 7 of the Standpoint Podcast. With me, as always, is my co-host Jordan Bohannon. Jordan, how you doing, buddy?
Doing well, brother.
Good. Well, it's already episode 7. These are really flying by. We're really excited to be pumping out more content for you guys and getting more guests on these episodes. Today, we have a very special guest, the quarterback for the Iowa Hawkeyes, Spencer Petras. Sorry. So we will get started with that. But before we like to dive into that, thank you guys for giving us a great reviews and 5 stars on iTunes. Keep that up, please. Those really help with us in the rankings and the metrics. And also, thank you for communicating and interacting with us on social media. Keep that up. We really like engaging with the fans. So today we got the new big man on campus. We got the replacement for Nate Stanley. Some big shoes to fill. We got Iowa quarterback Spencer Petras. Let's start off by telling me how do you pronounce your right name, right, Spencer?
Yeah, it's Petras.
Petras.
You had it the second time, both times. So.
Okay, good. All right, Petras. So we said before, we had Keith Duncan on, your teammate, very lively Keith Duncan. He was a great interview. We talked about the season, all the question marks that were ahead of it, and really trying to see, are you guys even going to play, right? Is that even a possibility? Fast forward a couple weeks later down the road, we got you now, and the season is set in stone, which is amazing. How have you felt about that compared to a couple weeks back where you literally, you started practicing, started weightlifting, and you had no idea what was going to happen? So how does that make you feel now?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we're very excited that we get to play now. It's been a crazy couple weeks. Just a couple weeks ago, like when you talked to Keith, we had to be at home and watch. We were watching other programs play football games, and we couldn't. And I know basketball, we all had to shut down for like a week, and it was crazy. But lucky enough, we're back practicing and preparing to play. So definitely excited.
How has first padded practice? Keith was touching on it that you guys haven't had padded practices since the USC game. So how has that been? I think it was just this past week that you guys just started. Is that right?
Yeah. Wednesday was our first day in pads. It was good. Yeah, we had to wait till we get tested every day now because we have like the instant antigen test or something. So it's been good. I mean, like it's obviously there's some rust that we need to kind of work off as a team because really, we haven't played real football since you mentioned like this, since December, since USC. But it's been good. It's been good, and we're in the like heart of fall camp right now, and just it's a point where we get to like improve a lot every day. So it's been good.
You mentioned you guys got the practice with the full pads and everything. Jordan, I know a lot with the football team. The quarterbacks don't get touched anyway, right? So it's not too much of a shock with you guys.
Yeah, my body feels good if we're wearing pads or if we're not. So yeah, not a huge deal for me, but good for the linemen, good for receivers, linebackers, everyone. So
Yeah, kind of just going off of that, let's kind of get to the beginning of everything. So originally from California, a long ways away from Iowa City. We can kind of get into that. So after doing some research, I found that you had quite the number of offers, going into college where you wanted to play football. And then I know there's a little bit of a situation with Oregon State and Iowa and stuff like that. So do you want to kind of break down your recruitment journey, why you picked Iowa and, how that journey was?
yeah, sure. So like I think I committed to Oregon State in May of my junior year of high school. Just felt like that was the best spot for me at the time. And then as it went forward, just there was a coaching change in the middle of the season, my senior year of high school. And at that point I had to reevaluate everything. I just took a visit to Iowa, really loved how, how much the school is invested in athletics and football. And really I guess the culture here is just is awesome compared to California. Like football is not the only thing like going for a lot of people in California. There's a lot to do. And here it's like in the fall there's football, in the winter there's wrestling and basketball, and that's kind of life. And it was cool to see, and I definitely liked it. So decided to come here.
I think it's
My dad is from California, and I don't know if you know too much about my family, but he actually played quarterback at Iowa back in the Rose Bowl in '81. So talking to him about his transition to California and from California to Iowa, and talking about, the winters getting to Iowa, just getting used to the whole atmosphere. It's a totally different vibe, you could say, with the entire environment around Iowa. I feel like the Midwest is so much different from the West Coast. How much have you experienced that, and just transitioning from that West Coast environment to the Midwest?
Yeah, no, he's definitely right. Like I early graduated from high school, so I got here in January of what would have been my senior year of high school. So like the winter was the first thing I experienced, and that's a huge like culture shock change right off the bat. But it's definitely true. Like cultures, the people, everything's different. So yeah, definitely a big change. But I think I've adapted well. I've been here 2.5 years at this point. So yeah.
Can you give us a better idea? Because I know Jordan was born in Iowa, born and bred Iowa, so he's used to that culture. I came from Chicago, a little more like urban based and stuff like that. You're from California, a lot more stuff going on. Can you describe like the difference between like a busier city or a busier state like California and Iowa, how it's a little more slower pace, a little more Iowa nice type thing? Can you just explain to Jordan and the people listening the differences between that?
Sure. Yeah. Like a good example is like my commute to high school was like 5 miles. But most mornings it'd take probably 40 minutes, 30 to 40 minutes, just because I had to get on Highway 101, which is the same highway that everyone commutes to San Francisco on. And like, you get up in the morning and there's so much traffic and you got to get to school or get to work. Like there's people honking and it's just busy. Whereas, here, I only live probably 5 minutes away from campus, and the drive takes you 5 minutes. It's not a ton of traffic. I mean, that's a pretty good example. But I mean, there's little stuff too. Like you walk down the street here, and you can strike up a conversation with kind of anyone. Whereas in San Francisco, or I'm from just north of there, there are friendly people, but overall, that's not what people do, right? Everyone's kind of doing their own thing, that kind of thing. So, yeah.
Yeah, I would say that, that's a big point. Even like for me, like even graduating, it's like a big thing that I miss is, a lot more people are friendlier in Iowa. And like you said, you can strike up a conversation with anyone. Is that something that you noticed too, Jordan, even just walking around campus or even Iowa in general?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I was way more accustomed to it being around Iowa kind of culture, just growing up, and my brother's going to Wisconsin. It's kind of the same vibe, you could say, there, because it's the Midwest city, and Madison's a little bigger city than Iowa City, but I was kind of just grew up in that kind of environment, so I was kind of used to it. But it's funny just thinking about all these athletes. They're coming from all across the country from these different sports, just like Spencer has, coming from California. I mean, a bunch of tennis players that are from UK all the time that are coming in. So it's pretty cool just to see like all of us kind of just meshing together when all our sports hit around the same time, or if we're watching each other's off on our off season. It's kind of cool just to see all of us kind of experience sports in the same state of Iowa.
Yeah, no, I think that's important too. I mean, just like Spencer said, like coming from California, Chicago, or Illinois, there's sports teams, there's pro sports teams, there's a ton of teams out there, and especially in California, there's multiple sports teams in every profession, MLB, NBA, and stuff like that. So I think it's really cool how Iowa, like you said, Spencer, is like this pro sports team down there, and I think that is that something that you're ready for, something that you kind of been prepping for, being that basically the NFL team of Iowa. How has that pressure been for you in knowing this upcoming season?
Yeah, I mean, I've had the great opportunity I sat behind Nate for 2 years, so I got a chance to kind of see how he dealt with it, and definitely a really good example there. And I mean, funny enough, there's not going to be many fans this year, so dealing with like the crowd and that kind of thing is not necessarily going to be a big issue in my first year, but definitely, yeah, like just making sure that I keep my circle small, especially during the season. Distractions, keep them down. But a lot of it, I feel like I'm just gonna have to, it's trial by fire, learn as I go. Can't really teach real experience. So, yeah.
You mentioned keeping your circle small. Jordan mentioned this too, and also when we had Keith on. How do you make sure to basically keep like a conscious mind on who you're surrounding yourself with? Like, making sure that you're in good situations and stuff like that. Obviously, it's a little different now because you guys can't really go out that much anymore. But what kind of things, you're kind of being pushed in the limelight now. What kind of precautions or steps are you taking to make sure that, you're getting the most out of this year and keeping your, sights set on the goals?
Yeah, I mean, the biggest thing, yeah, like you mentioned, kind of is just COVID. Like I can't, if you get that, if a football player gets it, the rule right now I think is minimum 21 days you're out. So like your heart test will be on that 21st day. So like I do not see anyone that is not a football player for the most part, or someone that has already had COVID, that has antibodies. Like I will allow myself to kind of, hang out with them or whatever. But for the most part, just that's the biggest thing. Just that's like the scariest thing for me is like, boom, you're around the wrong person for 10 minutes and you can test positive for this thing and be out for a long time. So I hang out with my roommates and football, we get tested every day now. So I can feel, more comfortable being around my teammates on and off the field. But, sticking with my roommates, my close friends is an important thing.
How frustrating is that? I'm not gonna get too much involved with it, or not really touch too much into this topic, but SEC and I think ACC as well, they have kind of a different guidelines for if you have COVID, it's only 10 days. 21 for Big Ten. Is that frustrating on any of you guys? Like knowing if someone gets on the team, like it's a bigger advantage for these other conferences to have different guidelines like that.
Yeah, I mean, we don't, I feel like it's easy to say, yeah, like it's BS and it's frustrating. At first it definitely is, but then like, people that are a lot smarter than me are making the rules. They're doctors that, they don't want, I know some Serbian basketball player, I think, like dropped dead from he had the heart issue, the heart condition, and returned too fast and died. So it seems to me like the doctors in the Big Ten, like, are at least giving us the best chance to stay healthy, for guys that are coming back from it. So, but yeah, it is a little crazy. Just there's no uniformity across the NCAA. They've just kind of taken a back seat and just let everyone do their own thing. It is a little frustrating for sure.
Yeah, you see, Jordan, that's how you give a politically correct answer. Spencer has definitely taken media training. He knows the things to say. That was a loaded question, so good job, Spencer.
I took media training. I just didn't pay attention.
So you mentioned the season starting in different conferences with the SEC and other conferences like that. Do you think that, are you worried about how the conference, NCAA, the playoff committee and stuff like that, how they're going to see or view Iowa in comparison to these teams have already played before? Or, how are you dealing with that mindset?
Try not to think too much about rankings or any of that kind of stuff because, one of those things you can't really control. And it's just wasting time worrying about it. That's for Gary Barta to worry about because I know he's the head of that committee or whatever. But yeah, we just focus on trying to be the best football team we can be.
Yeah, we got a really unique situation here. Jordan, the point guard, and like the captain of the basketball team. We got Spencer, the head of the football team. What kind of advice, Jordan, do you have for Spencer with someone jumping into, all this pressure, all this limelight, and all this attention on how to deal with, just basically life and pressure situations and, maybe Iowa fans in general? I'm sure Spencer maybe hasn't had too much experience with people, talking crap online. So what kind of advice do you got for him, Jordan?
Yeah, I'm sure he's gotten a ton of advice from Nate Stanley and other quarterbacks previously from him because the world can be such a crazy place sometimes. But if I would ever to say anything, I can already tell how locked in you are. So I don't think that's ever going to be an issue with you going forward. And that's kind of what your mentality is right now coming to that first game. I feel like that's how my mentality was when I arrived on campus my freshman year. I wasn't focused on rankings, wasn't focused on the guy in front of me. I was just focused on myself and trying to make sure I make the best situation possible for myself and more importantly my team. So I can already tell you're locked in and your mentality is kind of the same as mine. So it's going to be really cool to see you guys take the field going forward.
Spencer, how have you prepared yourself? Because like Jordan said, you have the mentality. You seem like you're ready for the next one up type approach, which Iowa's had, in the past with even Jake Rudock and CJ and Nate, and it kind of just goes down the line. What has prepared you for this moment and the training and stuff that you got put in to, be ready for it?
I mean, I'd say just, spend a lot of time like practicing football, and I care an awful lot about it. So I can feel, at peace with the preparation I've put in just in the off season and throughout my career here. Like, I know that I haven't taken a day off. And just, at some point, like, I just have to, like I said, kind of be at peace with the work I've put in, and go out there and compete, and just whatever happens, kind of, like sleeping through the storms, like the captain of the ship that ties all his knots the right way. When it starts raining and the waves get choppy, he sleeps fine. He doesn't get, too worried. So it's kind of that kind of thing. Just, I feel good about the work I've put in, and, that kind of thing.
Through everything with all the quarterbacks and, your predecessors like Nate, when you're going through your goals and, you're trying to accomplish this year, is it hard sometimes to not compare yourself to previous Iowa quarterbacks, or are you trying to start a new slate? And, how does that work? Because I know there's got to be something in the back of your mind with, comparing yourself to previous quarterbacks. So how do you get through that mentality?
Yeah, no, it's definitely easy. Just especially like, every athlete at the D1 level is really competitive. Like, I want to, be better than anyone that's ever played here, that kind of thing. But I found in my own experience that, the more I focus on, whether it's a guy I'm competing with or, trying to beat Nate's, numbers or whatever it may be, it's kind of, a waste of time, because you just got to focus on your own process, and the stats are a byproduct. The wins are a byproduct. All the accolades, that kind of thing. I can be happy about that and think about that after the season. But I'm sure, just got to kind of focus on what I can do to play my best, and the rest will take care of itself.
I would say that that's a good point you brought up with focusing on yourself, and basically, like you're saying, everything is just a byproduct of that, and not worrying about stats or wins, because like you said, you put in the time, you put in the effort, it will pay off. Jordan, did you have the same mentality like that? How is basketball kind of similar in that sense, where you're not worried about dropping 30 one night, you're just worried about being able to contribute and help the team in any way possible, or is there a little disconnect between basketball and football?
I would say it's probably the same mentality, but coming from high school, from both of us being the stars in high school, I wanted to drop 30, 40 every game, and I knew I could, just because it was high school and I could be able to dominate the competition. You can say the same thing, I'm for sure, about Spencer in high school, that he was trying to throw 7, 8 touchdowns a game and have record night for passing yards. So, I would say it's definitely the same mentality with both sports. But also I realized when I went to college that one night I might have 0 points and 12 assists, just because how the scouting report is. It's a totally different game in college. So I'm sure Spencer kind of grew accustomed to that the last 2 years when he's been around previous quarterbacks around the Big Ten and around Iowa itself. So I think that's an important thing that a lot of people don't really realize. You have this big time recruit coming in from high school. He's averaging 30, 35 a game, or throwing 5 touchdowns a game. It's not going to be the same for college. There's totally different ways that you can help your team win. So like you said, the stats are a byproduct on how you determine going forward for how successful a team really is.
You brought up coming from almost like the big fish in the little pond of high school. A lot of athletes like that, D1 athletes. I'm sure a lot of Iowa athletes, that's how they come in, like Jordan said. So you mentioned high school. If people don't know, Spencer actually broke a high school record. I'm sure he's tired talking about this, but for people at home, he broke his high school single season touchdown record in yards as a senior, previously held by Jared Goff. For those who don't know, was the #1 overall pick by the LA Rams in 2016. So you, like, that attention, that knowing you could kind of take what you want at that level, like Jordan said, you could drop 30 or 40 when you wanted. You could read a defense, you could pick apart the DBs, you could the zone schemes and everything like that. How is it you coming from that kind of being small fish in the big pond now, kind of being at the bottom of the totem pole and having to work your way up. How did you work through that?
It's a good question. I mean, it's just kind of, your process hopefully is rooted in the right things back when you're in high school. Like I was never, trying to go out there and be like, all right, I'm gonna throw, 350 yards and 4 touchdowns today. It'd just be, all right, like new play, like I'm gonna read it out. I'm gonna make the right read, throw a good ball, and hope the receiver makes a play. That same kind of thing applies to every play here. It's like it's kind of like, you go out there and you're like, all right, I'm gonna throw a touchdown this play. Like chances are you might throw an interception because you're gonna force something that's not there. Just like if Jordan's like, all right, I'm gonna go hit a 3, but if he's getting double teamed or whatever, like, and he's taking a bad shot, like it's gonna be it's not gonna turn out well usually. So just kind of like making the right decisions, putting the ball where it's supposed to, when it's supposed to, that kind of thing is just how the numbers happen. Sorry to keep giving you these like politically correct answers, but it's true.
Yeah.
Hopefully, yeah. Unless Aaron Rodgers can go out there and like he can do whatever he wants, just because even if he throws a bad pass, he can come off and they're not gonna bench him or anything. But yeah.
Yeah. I got a fun question for you. Let's say you come out this season, you have a record year. You're throwing 5-6 touchdowns a game, breaking all these records. Every record in the single season Iowa sports book in the record book. Will you come back for another year?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, the only guy that went one and done for a quarterback, is, as far as I know, recently has been Mitchell Trubisky, and we can kind of see how that turned out. So
yeah, I'm a Bears fan. Take it easy, all right, Spencer? It's been a tough year.
Yeah,
but,
sore subject. Hey, you're 3-0. It's not a tough.
Yeah,
year.
A little magic, a little St. Nick.
Yeah,
but
definitely tough for Mitch though.
You mentioned that, so that was a good question. Because I think it's funny because, Jordan, would you say the mentality of basketball players coming in, how Spencer said basically that, you trust the process, you work your way through it. And, it's a lot different because in basketball, these freshmen want to start dropping points, want to have double-double, want to start dunking on people. But then you have the football players who know that quarterbacks really, especially in like the Iowa system, they're not these true freshman starters like the SEC. And then, they're working their way up in the system. That's why a lot of them get NFL exposure because they know how to work in the system. They're very well trained. So what kind of differences do you see with how basketball players have their mentality coming in as a freshman in college, compared to what Spencer was talking about, how he endured the grind?
Yeah, I feel like you see a lot more basketball players that go early into the professional. That's kind of what I was getting at by that question. You see guys come in from basketball, they don't want to go one and done and get right to the NBA. And you see all the NBA now is all younger guys, all in their early mid-20s that are taking over a league. So, I mean, that's definitely something that you can say that's different about both our sports is kind of that mentality coming in. It's hard to play as a true freshman in football. And you can say the same about basketball, but really I feel like the mentality is a little different, especially for Spencer. He came in behind, Nate Stanley and was trying to establish his foot in the water. And it's kind of how I was, but also I was trying to start right away and prove that I could start at the Big Ten level. So there's definitely different mentality going forward just because of how the NBA has evolved. And I feel like the National Football League still kind of just stayed the same as the years went on.
Yeah, that's a good point because I think that, a lot of people out there, like you said, your question was, you have a great year, you break all the records, and, are you going to –
Oh, that's funny. Like Tyler Cook, he came in, he's like, well, if I drop 20 and 10 my freshman year, I'm gone. So I'm curious to see, like, as a football player, as like how Spencer is, like, what would be his what would be his path moving forward if that did happen? Because you just never know based off how much work you put in the offseason. You could just have a breakout year, and you could be, around springtime, you want to probably make some money.
Yeah, I mean, I think, to speak for Spencer, I think that he wants to get one foot in front of the other first, and, he wants to start the season and start, getting the rhythm and stuff like that, and complete a couple passes before he starts thinking about, shaking Roger Goodell's hand. So that's he's probably
absolutely right.
And
Absolutely right.
that's the big difference between basketball and football, Jordan, as you're seeing. A little more politically correct, a little more focused on, trust in the process. So it's very interesting too. A lot of Iowa fans don't know. So I saw this online. You can fact check me if I'm wrong, but did you first intend to go to the University of Nebraska for football? Is that true?
Did I what? I took a visit there. Yeah.
Was that one of the top places though you wanted to go if they offered you?
They did offer me. At one point, I did want to go there, but after kind of finding out more and doing my research, I figured that Iowa was a better spot than Nebraska.
Bro, Nebraska sucks. I don't even know why that's ever a question for anyone. Oh my gosh. Lincoln's like the worst city I've ever been ever visited.
Yeah.
There's nothing there. Nothing there. It's so boring. Absolutely. It's
Yeah, they're there's a lot of there's a lot of things wrong with that school and that city. So I'm happy I'm a Hawk for sure.
For everyone watching the video, Spencer's wheels were turning. He is literally sweating down his face. Not to say anything too bad about Nebraska, but if you watch the video, you can definitely tell what he was really thinking. So another good PR training for Spencer.
Trying my best, man. It's hard to hold back with those guys.
Do you think it's poetic? I mean, I looked at it. I don't know how much it had to do with it. Did going to Iowa, one of the parts, Nebraska's head coach was Mike Riley, correct? And he was the coach of Nebraska, like I said. And Iowa beat them in 2017 by 40-plus points. Mike Riley gets fired, right? He switches off and he goes to Oregon State. Did that switching of Mike Riley, did that have something to do with you not wanting to go to Nebraska? And how ironic is it that the team that literally kicked their ass is the team that you're starting for now?
Yeah, no, it was all kind of like a weird like love triangle a little bit, but no, it was weird, and especially so like one of my best friends in high school, his dad was like childhood friends with Mike Riley. That's how I got the connection with him in the first place, and that's how I started talking to them. It was weird. It was very weird, but really what it like made me realize is like kind of stability, especially in college football, is a big thing. And like, Coach Ferentz, 22 years, that looked more and more attractive as I watched all these. I was talking to Mike Riley at Nebraska, boom, he gets canned. Head coach at Oregon State, boom, he gets canned. So like it just makes you like, oh, like I would love to play for one coach, over my career. So yeah.
Jordan, can you talk to the point, Fran, kind of almost like Ferentz, established himself. I mean, obviously Kirk is, I think, the longest tenured coach in college football. So, Fran's got a little more time to catch up, but is that something that was important for you for recruiting? The stability, like Spencer said, is that something that you really, took in consideration?
Oh, for sure. College coaches are, just being a college coach for one is so unstable just because of how volatile a season can be. You could just be one season in a high major school and you could be fired after that just because how much money is involved and they want to make sure they have a good season. So what Coach Ferentz has been able to do these past decade, like it's unbelievable how he's able to establish tenured and continue to bring in high level recruits and keep the base going of the culture that they have established and continue to have winning teams out there on the field. It says a lot about how good of a Coach Ferentz is and the kind of recruiters that they have that are able to get guys like Spencer to come on and understand their role going forward of, you might not play right away, but if you get your feet wet a little bit and understand the guys in front of you and how hard they worked and kind of have that torch passing mentality is, I feel like, what's made them successful these past couple of years and decade or so. So it's the same thing with when I was coming in. I realized that Coach McCaffrey was in a stable position, coming off that team of 2016 of their top 5 in the country. And they had a lot of veterans coming in that season. So I knew that I had an opportunity to come and play right away. And we had a good team coming back with Peter Dock. So, job stability is definitely huge I feel like for recruits coming in and realizing that you want that coach that recruited you that you want to play for.
I think that another similarity too, talking about just culture and what you're getting when you come into an organization. I think that you two have the unique situation that Jordan came in, right? Iowa had its, that's what they're preconceived, how they played basketball, their style. He came in with Tyler Cook and those guys, they kind of had a little more attitude to them and stuff like that, and really kind of switched the whole culture of the basketball team. I think for Spencer, for since I was at Iowa and stuff, it was just ground and pound, like it was running the ball, hardcore defense, low scoring. But Spencer back here now, we got the man throwing the ball around like he's playing backyard football. And for the first time, Iowa has a nasty core of receivers, also with a running back in Tyler Goodson who can catch the ball too. Is there going to be a new expectation for the culture of the Iowa football team this year, like for the fans? What kind of look can you give them for what they might see this year?
I'll just say we have a lot of weapons, and we have a lot of different ways we can utilize their strengths. And top to bottom, like our roster is guys that can they can make plays with the ball in their hand, and that's exciting. That's exciting for any quarterback, any guy, any offensive coordinator calling plays, or any fan. It's gonna be fun, and I know we're excited to go out there and play and kind of show off the skills that we have.
We brought up before with Keith and even Jordan, the standards and everything that the NCAA is doing with COVID and, playing the games and stuff like that. What type of precautions are they doing with you guys, especially with travel and stuff like that? Because you're still gonna have to go to the other stadiums to basically ensure that, you guys are staying safe out there.
Yeah, actually, I have no idea on the travel stuff. That's a little, yeah. I'm sure it'll be something like, masked up and spaced out, but I don't know. The NCAA doesn't do anything. It's all the Big Ten. The NCAA has like literally done nothing this whole time. It's all the Big Ten kind of giving us the rules on all that stuff. And I don't know. I'll probably find out about the travel rules like, the day we fly. So
I'll
it'll be right.
set you off on that because I know Jordan was looking at his chops. What's your thoughts and opinions on the Big Ten being a little more of the leadership than the NCAA with COVID and everything? And, like Jordan said, the other divisions, everyone doing their own thing. How is that? What is your opinions on that, I guess?
Yeah, it's just a little like frustrating, I guess, that there's no uniform decision making. There's no leadership from the NCAA. It's all conference by conference, which is fine, but I don't see the purpose of the NCAA anymore. It seems like they just decide who's eligible and pass rules, but I think that coaches could do that and do it well, because we are the coaches and the players ones with the vested interest in all this stuff. They're not just in it for the money like the NCAA. So it's definitely been interesting, and I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how it goes moving forward, because it doesn't make sense to me that they can just do nothing like they have.
Yeah, and Jordan's been a big proponent of that, right, Jordan? With basically how everything's been taken care of, and does seeing what's happening with the football team give you a little more confidence for the basketball season? Is any of this kind of like a silver lining for you?
Well, I just want to play. I don't know how that's how the Iowa football team was. They just wanted to play, and them not knowing, other teams playing and they're not playing, and then all of a sudden they're playing, and now the whole season's on. It's just not how it should be. There should just be one uniform answer for it all, and if guys want to play, then they should be able to play. And I think that's just what's been so frustrating. Talking to Keith, he was just frustrated because he and his teammates, they wanted to play and they weren't able to. So I'm hoping I feel like our season's depending a lot on football and how it's going to run. Now, granted, the money that football makes is university, and basketball's tournament is going to be for the NCAA. So I feel like the NCAA is going to be more uniform on the decision for the NCAA tournament for basketball rather than football, which is a shame, because if they would have done something in the summer, I feel like football definitely should have been off and running from the start. But it's just how it is. It's how it's been for the last decade or so with NCAA.
Yeah, a lot of good stuff we talked about today. Like I said with Keith, it's really unique to have, two different sport athletes, leaders of their teams being in the same spots. I hope you guys learned some stuff. I hope you learned how to talk and make sure that, you're saying the appropriate things. Spencer, you're doing a great job, looking after how Jordan acts and stuff like that. So that's some good knowledge and everything. But before, we end this episode, is there anything you want to say to the Iowa fans, the people out there? How many touchdowns you're going to guarantee to throw to against Nebraska, anything like that?
I don't know. What's the record? I don't even know. No. Yeah, no guarantees. Just I'm excited to play.
What
I'll hold my time.
give me a message to them. Let's give a little what can they look forward to this year, and give me a little pump up speech for them, because a lot of our bases in Iowa, and I'm sure they're chomping at the bit to see you guys out there on the field. So give me a little pump up, Spence.
We've been working since January. It got taken away from us, got ripped away from us, and we're back. We're ready. You stay ready, so you don't have to get ready. We stayed ready. We're going to go out there, guns a-blazing. We're going to be slinging the ball around, scoring points, playing the game of football the right way, and we're going to have a great season.
Goosebumps.
Oh my gosh, I can't wait. I am goosebumps all over. I cannot be more excited. Well, thank you, Spencer, for coming on today, man. We really appreciate you taking the time right before practice to sit down with us. A lot of exciting things to look forward to for the football team. I'm excited to see you out there killing it. Thank you guys for listening. Make sure to keep subscribing, reviewing us, and interacting with us. Really appreciate y'all, and have a good rest of your day.